This happened about 8 months ago, and we had been in lockdown for a little over 2 months at that point. So missing social interactions and still not having many places to go, I decided to make a POF account. For those not familiar with POF, it's a dating website. And a little backstory on me, I'm a female who dates females. I'm what you would call a lipstick lesbian, and I'm into a more masculine butch type female. So anyways, I made a profile and almost instantly started getting messages. But after about a month, I was ready to delete my account. The girls hitting me up were either boring and couldn't hold a conversation, or they just weren't my type. After laying off the site for a while, I received a notification about a new match, and to my surprise, she was actually really attractive. Short haircut, athletic build, and she seemed to have been into a healthy lifestyle. We started messaging back and forth for about 3 weeks before she asked me out on a date. She said she knew of this really nice wine bar on the beach and they had outdoor seating. I was excited to finally get out the house, and even though she seemed pretty normal and harmless over the internet, I was happy that our first meetup was at a public place. This place was gorgeous and the seating was right by the ocean, which I loved. But my date wasn't as good. At first sight, she was even better looking than her pictures, which was a plus. But her demeanor was very off-putting. She was very rude to our waiter, and she kept going to the bathroom every second, coming back more jittery, agitated, and paranoid than the last time. I believe she was taking something. I would have left sooner, but she ordered a $300 bottle of wine, and I wasn't about to let that go to waste. Plus, my food was really good. But as soon as I finished up, I made an excuse as to why I had to leave. She then offered to order me an Uber, and like a dummy, I said okay. As soon as my driver pulled up to my driveway, I received a text from her asking if I arrived okay. And that was normal. I mean, we did have a lot of wine, and she was just making sure I arrived home okay. So I replied back, letting her know that I got home safely and thanking her for the night. Even though she wasn't my cup of tea, and I had no interest in seeing her again, I didn't want to be rude about it. The next morning when I woke up, I had about 8 new photos from her. One of her in her house, the next with her clothes on the floor, and a text saying, "I'm about to get into the shower." Then another one with her in the shower, etc., etc. Basically, she was sending me pictures of her every move. I just shook my head and went on about my day. Around 2 p.m., she texted me asking if I received the pictures. I didn't reply. I figured if I ignored her long enough, she would get the hint and just leave me alone. Wrong. By the end of that day, I legit had 15 missed calls from her. This was insane. So I called her up thinking I would let her know where I stood. Trying to let her down easily, I thanked her again for the date and told her that at that time I wasn't interested in anything moving forward. She was silent for a moment before saying okay and hanging up. A few days passed and I was relieved because she hadn't contacted me. Then one morning, I was leaving my house around 5 a.m. to go for an early morning jog. When I opened my door, I saw a bottle of wine and a card. Inside the damn card were pictures of me taken from outside my bedroom window on different nights. Basically, all the nights that she didn't contact me. This was some Lifetime movie shit I was experiencing. I called her right away and told her that I was going to go to the police and that she was to never come back to my house again. Then I blocked her number and blocked her on every social media platform that we were following each other on. No more than an hour had passed before I started receiving calls from unknown and blocked numbers. Of course I didn't answer, but this chick was legit calling me back to back non-stop. Like she just kept hitting the dial button. This went on for a good 45 minutes straight, and then I lost my temper. I called her, cursed her out, and told that crazy bitch again that I was going to go to the police. And that's when things got worse. The next day, I heard glass bottles being thrown at my front door. When I looked out my bedroom window, I saw a wine bottle shattered all over my front steps and lawn, but she was nowhere in sight. I called my big brother and informed him on what was taking place. I gave him her number and asked him to scare her off a little bit. My brother was a big masculine guy with a very deep, intimidating voice, but it didn't work, and shit got real after that. Later that night, I was awakened by my phone around 1:30 a.m. It was a video from an unknown number. I clicked to watch it and was horrified. At first, she was just sitting on the bed, staring into the camera, looking like the creep she was. Then, she slowly bent over to pick up a sock, which she had turned into a weapon by filling it with something hard and heavy. That crazy bitch then started beating herself in the eye with it, and she didn't stop until her eye was swollen shut. That's when I knew I was dealing with a real psychopath. She then stood up from the bed, walked over to a closet, smirked into the camera, and started slamming her arm between the door and the wall. I was now sitting up from bed, fully awake, with my hand covering my mouth in complete shock. At this point, she was hurled over in pain, holding her dangling arm. She then placed the phone at the bottom of a large staircase. It was positioned so that I could see all the way up to the top. She slowly climbed the stairs and then turned around once she reached the top. In my mind, I'm like, what is she about to do? Before I could say, oh my gosh, she threw herself from the top, and she was painfully tumbling every step of the way before she smashed into the floor. My heart was in my throat at this point, and I was short of breath. She laid there in a daze for a few moments before she could gather up every bit of energy she had left and painfully crawled over to the phone until her face was way too close to the camera. All I could see at this point was her bruised eye. She then whispered, "Never threaten someone who's not afraid to cause harm to themselves," and hung up. I called the cops immediately and showed them the video. I also told them about everything that had happened in the past few days. I tried looking up her profile, but she took it down. I also looked up her other social media accounts, but they all were taken down. And the number that I had for her was disconnected. The name she gave me didn't exist. There was no way that the cops could make an arrest. It is now going on 5 months, and I haven't heard from her since. I still constantly look behind my back when I'm in public, and I get paranoid when I see an unfamiliar car parked in my neighborhood. I'm still on guard. Is that my door? Hold on 1 second, guys. 1 second. Who is it? Hello? Who is it? Hello? Who?